It's a mini. It's a mini.
Oubliette minisodes.
Hello and welcome to Movie Oubliette and our special coverage of the Toronto International Film Festival. I'm here again with Joe.
Hello.
And we're covering any of the horror, sci-fi and fantasy films that we catch while we're here. And today we're looking at one that I think was one of the more buzzier titles, actually.
I think so.
It certainly attracted a very large crowd when I went to the press and industry screening, and everybody seemed to really enjoy it. It's called Exit 8. It's directed by Genki Kawamura, and probably not pronouncing that correctly, who has a wide and varied career, as I understand.
Yes, yeah, not just in genre titles either, because I was looking over his filmography and I realized I had seen one of his previous credits, If Cats Disappeared from the World, a couple of years ago at the Fantasia Film Festival in Montreal. And that movie is like this melancholy, contemplative, almost world-weary, like very tear-jerky piece, which the title is quite literal. It's like what happens if cats disappear from the world and everyone gets very sad.
Aw. Well, you see, I wouldn't because I'm not a cat person.
But you don't understand how cats had impacted your life, Conrad.
Maybe. Yeah. No, the sequel, What If Dogs Disappeared from the World, would be a disaster.
There you go. Yes. But this film does have a cat, although it is an anomaly because, of course, we're living in the world of liminal game-based horror.
We are, yes. Our central character is unnamed, as far as I remember.
He's the Lost Man. That's what he's credited as.
Yes, in chapter 1, because we have 3 chapters in this movie. And he is a commuter who finds himself trapped in an endless repeating sequence of turns as he's trying to get out of the subway system.
Yes.
And slowly learns through reading the instructions on the wall, then in order to progress and actually get out of this never-ending loop, he needs to spot the anomalies, as you mentioned, in the next iteration. And if he spots any, he has to go back. And it's a very simple setup.
Yeah.
You're in a fixed location. You're stuck with the same few characters that keep recurring, including spooky characters that walk through the tunnel in exactly the same way every time you go past them.
Yeah.
Except when they don't, which is really creepy.
Yes.
But it's amazing how much ingenuity goes into maintaining interest in this, because I was riveted throughout, but then I love time loop stories.
I do too. And I can't help but question if that's part of the appeal. Like, we should note that this is based on a game of the same name by Kotaku Create. And I've not played the game. You have not played the game.
No.
It doesn't matter. It's a very, very simple premise, but I could see the appeal of this. Like, I was reminded of like-minded films like Escape Room, where it's all about your attention to detail, but the stakes are life or death. So even though it's as simple as you just need to walk down the subway hallway and note if the posters have changed, or if the doorknob has moved, or, yes, if there is a cat or a spooky person with a very unnerving smile looking at you. So it's so simplistic on the surface, and yet negotiating the tension and keeping those stakes top of mind, and then introducing a couple of really gonzo bananas sequences as the film progresses. I found it captivating the whole time.
Yeah. The tension is palpable throughout. It's never boring.
No.
Despite being repetitive, you are on edge the whole time because anything can happen in these corridors.
Yes.
So it does feel very much playing one of those first-person horror games, although the person who was sat next to me in the screening was saying this isn't like the game at all. The game is like a point-and-click puzzle.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the writer-director has turned this into something completely different.
Right.
Based on that.
Okay.
But the sound design was very impressive. The music I found very enjoyable. There is a theme for this particular tale. It's Ravel's Bolero,
Yes.
which is very fitting because it is a repetitive theme that keeps building and building and building towards what feels like an inevitable and exciting conclusion. So it works very well in this context because that's exactly what you get in this movie.
Right.
And it's an interesting structure too, because you can't change the location, but you can change your protagonist.
Yes, yeah. So as you mentioned, this is divided into 3 sections, and each of the sections, it's not entirely from a different character's point of view, but it is at the same times, because we will see the characters interact. So sometimes you think, okay, so this is filling in an element of the story that we didn't really understand or maybe lacked context in a previous iteration. So at one point, we actually get the story of this automaton man who constantly walks by. And you think, okay, well, what new information are we going to collect from this? And it's really valuable, but it also only does so much to shed light on the situation. Like, I kind of love that it is that teasing puzzle box narrative where we're there with this lost man trying to spot anomalies because, we want to catch it before he does or something like that.
Yeah, that is a fun part of it.
But then there's also the actual experience of watching the film and piecing the puzzle together of how will this all play out and what other information do we need to understand in order to make the film make sense. So I love that it is almost a meta narrative about watching the film in some ways.
It is. It also functions to ramp up the stakes for the third act because seeing the fate of that particular character who you always assumed was an NPC makes you realize just what fate will befall our main character if he doesn't manage to negotiate his way out of here. And we have a slightly more human story underneath it all, which is that he is prompted to try and get out of this station because he needs to go and see an ex-girlfriend who has just called him to tell him that she is pregnant with his child.
Yes.
And he has to make a decision.
Yes.
So the theme of the movie is all about being at a certain point in late young adulthood where you have to make a decision whether to accept a responsibility or not, or whether to continue to coast.
Yeah.
Using a purgatory that is everyone's daily life. In Japan, one assumes commuting, I thought was a little obvious, but very clever.
Yeah, it's so obvious that it works, right? Because it's almost impossible to misinterpret as a result. And I love that it also brings that element of gameplay into it, right? Do you want to go left or do you want to go right? Do you want to keep the baby or do you not want to keep the baby? Are you going to interject when you see someone behaving badly on the subway, or will you stand by and just put your headphones on? So we very much get a sense as the film progresses that the people who end up in this purgatory-esque subway system have grappled with the consequences of their actions. And in some ways, it offers you this glimmer of this is why you need to think about having conviction behind your decisions, right? What do you stand for? What do you want to do? How much are you actually living your life and engaging with the environment around you?
Exactly.
It's some heady stuff in a way.
It is, and genuinely affecting.
Yes. Yeah, we've not mentioned that there is another character. So the third character whose point of view we get is of a young boy. And I love the way that this character is introduced and what it initially means. And then it starts to take on a kind of grander ambition because you start to connect, our lost man has to help this young boy break out of this game as well. Because as you said, Conrad, leaving the boy behind to the fate of this other character is
just inhuman.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
unthinkable.
But also now our main character is sort of saddled with what you think is, oh God, he's now got to take care of a fucking kid and negotiate this at the same time. And I like how the film subverts a lot of our expectations about who's going to be valuable, what's going to be important, and so on. Like, as you said, it is in some ways very surface level, but there is so much going on beneath the surface.
There is, yeah. It's a high concept thriller. It has some genuinely frightening moments, some genuinely disturbing imagery. It is all tied together with images that you see right at the very beginning of the film, if you're keeping close attention. And the stakes of the movie are set up in that very first moment that you talked about, which is he ignores a really horrible incident on the underground train where a young mother is being harassed by one of the other commuters because her baby is making a noise. And it's just so appalling to watch, and that everybody is just ignoring it and trying to zone out and not engage with it. So that's sort of your kickoff point. And then you enter this purgatory, and it's sort of figuring out how this character will grow from the beginning to the end is compelling emotionally. But despite all of that, the weightiness beneath it all, both emotionally and thematically, it's just a damn good horror thriller.
Yes, yeah, it's just a genuinely enjoyable film to watch and kind of unpack. I will be curious, though, what do you think of the rewatchability or sequel potential of this film? Because I think it maybe lacks a little bit of the former, but it has spades of the latter.
Yeah, I would agree with that, absolutely. You may enjoy watching it again to see how many things you missed the first time around.
Right. Okay.
Well, I have to say, I was priding myself on spotting the anomalies every time.
I was like, dude, you just walked by a very obvious... that was one of my frustrations at one point, where you see something and it's very clearly an anomaly. It's not like, oh, one tiny component of a poster change. It's like somebody is screaming in your face. Okay, well, that is something completely different. So you know enough to just immediately turn around and walk back because, cool, let's reset the level. And there were a couple of times where I just thought, hey, Lost Man, pick it up here. Like, acclimatize, adjust to the circumstances a little faster.
Yeah.
But if you told me that we were making another film, if you call it, Exit 9 or Exit 7 or something, and you had new characters and new challenges and so on, I'm going to be there in a heartbeat. Because as I told you after we watched this is a very male-centric story, right? It's about a young man who's on the precipice of potentially becoming a father or not, and how much does he want to engage with the world. And if you gender swap this and it was about a woman, the film is a completely different beast.
Yeah, it is. There's so many interesting ideas that you could explore there.
Yeah. So, if you say, oh, let's put some women into the mix for the sequel, as opposed to two men and a young boy, I think we could be telling very different stories.
Yeah, and despite its limited setting, it really does up the ante in the final set pieces.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources going into this, so you will get some spectacle as well.
Yes, and some genuine scares.
Oh yeah, there's some creepy images and sounds that I'm still remembering now.
Yeah, still processing. My therapist will get a call.
Yes. Exit 8, look out for it. I'm not sure if it has a release date. That's the other thing that I always find sad about going to these films at TIFF. I never know when they're actually going to emerge, and as I've learned from my previous experience, sometimes it's a year later.
Yes, yeah. I don't know about this one because, folks, if you didn't gather by the name, it is Japanese, but it's got that kind of sheen to it. Like, it's very polished, it's very well made, it's being very well received. So I imagine that when it does come out, people will take notice. I think this is going to be one of those like big crowd pleasers. You just have to keep your eye out for it. But when it does, people will let you know.
Yeah, they definitely will. It's one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Keep your ears peeled for more TIFF coverage to come soon.